Hi, so today I'm doing a little something different for my birthday because everybody wants a birthday present. I'm going to give everybody a birthday present. I have a page on my Facebook page that I've uploaded that is the Harpy coloring page. And this is for anybody who has Photoshop or any kind of drawing program like that works in layers. The page is grayscale, and you can download it by right click, options download, and you should download a pretty good sized copy of it that way. And then you can open it up in Photoshop and do this little thing to make it a color page. What I did in the beginning there was I opened it up and created a new layer, and the new layer is set to color. I don't know if you can see that over here, but it says color on the layer type. And when you do that, it keeps all of the values, the lights and darks, the same, but changes the color based on what you've selected on the color palette. So now I'm just filling in all of the tree, this olive tree that this harpy is sitting in a real basic green. And I'm using my Wacom stylus, so I have a little bit of decent control over it, but I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of zooming in or anything on this part to get edges real tight or anything like that. I'm not worried too much about that. I want to make sure I get all this done in about 20 minutes. And I'm going to do some blue in the sky, and I have the opacity on this brush. This is just kind of a messy little brush type of thing that I use all the time. You can use probably just about any brush when you're doing this that's going to be relatively cooperative and doesn't have a really sharp edge. If you have a really sharp edge, it gets kind of noticeable. A little bit of a fuzzy edge kind of helps. Every time you pick up the brush, because its opacity is a little bit lower, you're going to get a little variation to your color. So I don't pick up the brush very often during this. I did in the sky a little bit, and then I started changing the colors around in the sky, and you'll see where that comes in. But really, this is just kind of blocking in some colors, and I am keeping it pretty rough right now because, like I said, I'm not zooming in and getting into any details or anything. I figure I'm going to do that once I get into the figure and the edges of the trees and everything. There can be some overlap. You can see I'm getting over the tree quite a bit. And it's not going to hurt anything because I'm going to be going back in there later on. Oh, see, I picked up the brush, and now I'm getting a much stronger blue all of a sudden. That's okay because I'm going to be changing quite a few of these colors anyway. I kind of want the sky to be a lot brighter than it is, and because the opacity is about 50%. I know that's kind of hard to see on the video, but it is. There's a little bit of variation in the color, and you kind of want a little variation in the color. You don't want your sky to be real flat. As a matter of fact, the sky is actually a lot of different colors, and you can see I'm going more turquoise here on the bottom of the sky, and I'll do a little bit more purple towards the top. And now I'm just making a mess all over that tree, but that's okay because I'm going to go in later and fix the tree up quite a bit. The sky changes from turquoise to purple, and when we look at the sky and see blue, we're looking at it at eye level and looking at blue. If you look straight up at the sky that's directly above you on a clear day, it's more of kind of an indigo color, and the horizon is a little bit greener. So I'm trying to blend everything together and get that effect a little bit so that there's some variation. And, like I said, I'm using a really big brush here. It's just making a lot of coverage very quickly. But we're going to go back and adjust anything that gets messy. Alright, and now I'm going to find a color that looks pretty good for the tree and bring that brush size way down. Now, you can't see very well the actual brush size sliders or anything because when I recorded this video, for some reason, the sliders and the pop-up windows and all of those things didn't show up. And, well, I'll figure out what happened eventually and do it again a different way. Not this one, but there will be other coloring pages. This is the first of what I kind of hope to have many. The idea is everybody should be able to color a picture the way they want, and coloring books are going to evolve. we all have access to programs that are free programs like GIMP or things like that that are going to do exactly the same thing that this Photoshop thing is doing. The interface is going to look a little different, but what I'm doing here is actually pretty basic. And you can do it in a lot of different image processing software. Just about anything that uses layers. So now we're going to clean up that olive tree's trunk and branches here and get them a little bit more brown and get rid of some of that blue. A little bit of blue is not a bad thing because it helps create some color variation. So again, I'm not using it at 100%. It's like 50 or 60%. And we can get in there and get rid of a lot of it so that the tree has some definition. Okay. And getting all these little areas in between the wing feathers and stuff, because we want to make sure that every point of the tree that's exposed is not quite gray. We don't want really anything to be really gray at the end of all this. Now I've got another color that I grabbed just to add some light variation to. Oops, grabbed a little bit of a guy there. Get rid of that. Light variation to the leaves. We don't want the leaves to be all the same exact color green, so I got it more of a yellow green in there, and I figure all the areas that have some highlights on them I threw some yellow into, and dropped some of that saturation down. I made it a lot grayer because it was getting a little carried away with how bright that green was. But this is going to be your tree. This is going to be your little harpy hiding in the tree. So you can make these things any color you want. If you want it to have purple leaves, it can be like the Lorax's trees or anything you want to do. You can make them pink, you can make them orange. Whatever makes you happy is good. Now I'm going to get into some wing colors here. And I want the wings to be much more bird-like than human-like. So I picked a color that's quite a bit brighter than what I'm going to use on the figure, because birds have nice bright colors. And one of my favorite birds is the cardinal. And so I'm thinking I want to get some reds on these wings. I think I'm going to maybe make the tips of the wings really bright red. And that'll be fun. And get all of the areas where there are wings. There's quite a few places that are wings in here. And again, I'm using a pretty big brush, so I'm not really too worried about it going over the edges just a little bit. I'm just trying to stay away from messing up the sky edges too much, but if I get on the tree or whatever, it's going to blend in quite a bit. This whole process can be pretty abstract, really. Okay, I'm going to grab that red and make it a bunch brighter. Notice I'm not ever really going all the way to the maximum brightness, because you see that 75% brightness goes a long way on this red. Now we're getting into some finer details, and I don't want any of that red to bleed over into the sky, so I want to make sure we're close enough to see that that's not going to happen. All right. And I want to find the tips of the wings on all the wings. And she's got some tail feathers coming down both sides of the branch there on the back. And get all of those done. Now our harpy friend has a fairly sad story. Harpies are ugly and malicious, and they go after people. In Greek mythology, harpies were not anybody's friend. This harpy is very lonely. She's an outcast harpy because she is much too pretty to hang out with all the other harpies. So as you'll see, she wears a mask to make herself look uglier so that she can fit in a little bit better with her peers. Because everybody is different from everybody else, and sometimes those differences are not treated very well. And she is not treated well by her peers. Okay, so let's see. I think we're going to change some colors and fix some sky things here. We've got some sky issues that need to be dealt with that are in between the wing feathers. And, Here's a good time to kind of clean up some of those edges while we're looking at this. I want the blue and the red to be real sharp against each other. So anywhere that there's blue, or should be blue, you can kind of see there's a lot of space between some of those feathers. And get that sharpened up quite a bit. And I'm thinking I'm going to go just a little brighter on her talons, because there's some pretty wicked looking talons. And harpies have the bird, kind of like buzzard feet. And I don't want them to be boring brown or black buzzard feet. I'm thinking she stands out quite a bit, so she's going to have these really intense, like almost magenta kind of feet. Now I'm seeing there's a whole bunch of other sky points here that need to be dealt with. You know, all of these little blue areas that should be sky. And hopefully you'll be able to find all those things when you're looking at the file. The file's pretty big, so I think you're going to be able to see everything just fine. And I'm going to give her hair that kind of matches those wings. I think I want them a little brighter than average hair. Kind of thinking redhead. She's not any particular ethnicity or anything like that. She's Harpy ethnicity. I don't think they have any particular ethnicity. So she can have whatever color hair kind of goes with her wings, and I think that would make sense. And finding where all the hair is showing up behind her here. And now's a good time to get rid of some of that green that's the spillover from the leaves. There we go. And I think we're going to have to brighten up some of this. We'll get to that. And I want to make it so that the hair matches the wings in some places, at least. So I'm going to throw some of that more orangey red into the wing areas here and have them kind of match up, meet up a little bit more in color. I'm seeing a couple places here where it should be defined that that's a tail feather and not the bark. I like that little extra definition in those colors. And I'm going to go ahead and give her some skin tone. Now I'm going to bring up the opacity on this quite a bit because I want to make sure that her skin tone has very little gray to it by the time it's done. I'm not using a real saturated color here, but it's fairly reddish orange. Because, again, I'm not really too worried about her ethnicity so much as just making sure that she stands out from her background. And I would think that's probably a good idea. But, again, you're going to color it any way you want. And so if you want your Harpy to be Smurf blue, that's entirely on you. You can go ahead and do that. Wouldn't be my choice, but it might be kind of fun. Who knows? Now, I'm doing most of this without ever really picking up the brush because I want it to be a fairly smooth skin tone. I don't want to have a lot of places where there's a sudden jump in saturation. So yeah, I haven't picked up my brush yet since I started working on her skin tone. And getting rid of most of the leaf green that has spilled over onto her, but not necessarily all of it. A little bit of reflected light doesn't hurt. Okay. And I'm seeing a place where there was some feathers that I didn't get to turn into that magenta color. So I'm going to have to go back in there and remember to get those. Yeah, it's still kind of olive. Let's get rid of that. And yeah, I'm going over it a second time now. I've picked up my brush and moving around a little bit. And I'm seeing some places that still look a little gray that I'd like to have brighter. All right. Particularly the face. You don't want a whole lot of gray in the face. There's a lot of blood getting into that area and stuff, and it's going to show through. because skin is translucent like that. I'm going to get a little bit more of that red in there. And I'm going to create a little bit of a yellow highlight on the edge of her hair because there's some fairly bright sunlight hitting her hair. And then I think I'll grab a much brighter red, deeper red, and I'm going to give her a little bit of a cheeks reddened and the feathers reddened here, and fix up that area that I missed on the feathers there on the feet and the legs. And then I think overall a lot of this can have a little bit brighter color. She's got a kind of a human hair color, and I wanted to get it a little bit brighter than that. And now her mask has some... We want the mask to look pretty aggressive. I think it's going to be gold. And... Oh, yep, missed a piece right there, and her face is exposed behind the eye hole there. Yeah, I want the mask gold, but I wanted to have some red areas there to make it look like she's trying to be really mean and trying to get that aggressive, I guess, ugliness that harpies are supposed to have in her mask. I think that'll do for now. That sets it apart from her skin color pretty well. I'm going to throw some golden highlights in her wings too to help that sunshine kind of look. And yeah, I think I like it. That's going to be about where this one lands, I think. We'll post it like this. This is probably not my final version, but it's not a bad place to stop for now. And call that a coloring book page. So if you guys decide that you're going to do a coloring version of this picture, I would love to see the final version. If you want to post it in the comments here or just anywhere you want, you can send it to me as a DM on Facebook, and that would be great. I don't know if YouTube will let you put comments with images. You can put it in the Facebook comments on the post that you get it from, and that would be great too. All right, thanks for watching, and like and subscribe. You know, that whole YouTube thing, everybody likes to say it. It does count. All right, thanks very much. Have a great day.